let's look at players in fantasy basketball who are trending up. Let's look at the guys who are trending down. Let's look at if we can do anything about that. And let's also hear from the birthday boy from a couple of days ago, Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and what would I say to my younger self about this moment and what I do? Well, I wouldn't say anything because obviously the rules of time travel. I've never been visited by myself in the future, so I think if that happened to me, I wouldn't make the decisions, you understand? It's Tenet logic. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Double bangers? I know, it's annoying. I'll address it again. I've addressed it probably 20 times, but people don't listen to every show. Again, understandable, so apologies. There's an issue with the audio side of things. Our network moved our host provider, so the place where we upload our audio files, to a new site, and there was a migration period over a couple of days over the weekend. It's supposed to be 2 days out. Something has happened with my particular feed and a couple of the other shows, and I don't know why. It is annoying me to no end, and it hasn't repopulated all of my shows. There's like 10 shows, audio-wise, that are sitting backlog that haven't been pushed out to the feeds. Apparently, they're coming out on, I think, Amazon Music. That's the only one that it's coming out on. So if you want to listen to audio, it's on Amazon. I don't know why that is, but that is happening. So it's not on Spotify, it's not on Apple Podcasts. It will be there. I have not given up on Spotify. I have not given up on audio. I've not given up on Apple Podcasts. It will be there. I will always have the show on YouTube. When I tweet out a promotion for this show, there will be a link to listen to an audio player as well. It just won't populate on those feeds, and it is annoying me to absolutely no end, and I just can't do anything about it. So I'm just waiting for these guys, the tech side of things, to fix this because it's obviously frustrating. And again, I will sure have to do this every single day until it's fixed. Hopefully, it's fixed in the next 20 minutes. But I don't know. Hopefully, it comes soon. Yep. Yeah. Let's talk buy lows, sell highs. Josh, why would you do buy low, sell high when trade deadlines are done? First of all, I do what I want. Secondly, that's not what the trade deadline, or not what the buy low, sell high show is, as I've been at pains to mention through the course of the season. Sure, do a buy low trade. Good on you. You've done it. Sell high. Fantastic. Absolutely well done. You've done that. But that's 50% of what this is. You don't have to make trades. You don't have to sell guys off. You don't have to buy them low. You don't have to do any of it. I've made one trade across all my leagues all season. One. You don't have to do trades. What this is indicative of is players who are playing well above their heads, players who are playing well below expectations, that when you're trying to plan out for the week, you can see things that are going to change. And they're going to change in the next week, next 2 weeks, next 3 weeks, whatever it is. It's about trends. It's about understanding, hey, I'm flying at the moment, and you've got 5 guys all on the sell high list. You go, oh, no. Like, that might mean that I need to be careful of what I do in the playoffs. Or you're struggling and you lost last week 3-6, and you got 5 guys on the buy low list. Okay, pretty confident this is going to turn around. Because as we've shown through the results of these shows, week on week, we're running at like 90%, 95% of these turnarounds happening. And well, we're going to do a recap again here. You'll see that the same thing happened once more. Now, of course, I can't just do the last 2 weeks because in the middle there was it 8 days or something, or 7 days where there were no games on. So we've looked at the last 3 weeks over the course of the calendar, which equates to about 2 weeks of NBA gameplay. When looking at the overall ranking numbers, when I look at the stats, all that sort of stuff, it's always a weird time of the year. Enough waffling, Josh. Let's have a look at the Week 16 Buy Low, Sell High recap show. How many W's do we have on the Buy Low show? Well, we did okay there. Jordy Clarkson was 261st. He moved up to 108th. He's always going to be one of the guys that's on this list. You ride it when it's hot, you sell it when it's cold, you drop, you add, all that sort of stuff. I think that you have him for now, but there'll be a point where he's done for the year and you can move on from him. Miles Turner, one of the easiest ones of all time, 230th, and he's 24th since. When I talked about him as a buy low guy, there were people that were complaining about Miles Turner and saying they were going to drop him, which is always a great indication for me that, yeah, you've got to have that on a buy low, because when people start talking crazy like that, yeah, he was struggling. People were talking like insane. I can't with this guy. I've got to make the decision. Do I drop him or... And I'm trying to think, like, is it him or Nick Richards? Or is it him or insert other rant Jericho Sims? I'll just throw out as a funny name. Like, no. Like, Turner's 24th since then. Keegan Murray. Lucky for yesterday, I reckon. 146th. He's up to 121st. There's still room to improve. Don't view him as as an elite player. Don't view him as this elite prospect. Don't view him as this elite fantasy turnaround guy. Top 100? Probably. And I think he'll get better from here on out. Quickly was 137th, and there were some people debating whether he was a droppable guy. He's 84th since then, and that continues to rise. I think he's got a top 50 run in him at some point coming up. And then the one that didn't work out was Paul George. We knew he was having a groin issue, and we thought, okay, he'll get back from that, he'll play more minutes. He's actually gotten worse. He's 71st over the last 2 weeks, and now he's got a knee issue. I'm not going to include him as a buy low on today's show, but he is, if you're willing to take that risk that knee's not serious. And I don't think it is, even though he's been ruled out for the next game. On the flip side of things, on the sell high portion of the show, well, we did a clean sweep there. A couple of them were borderline, but we hit them still. Miles Bridges was 23rd. He's 39th since. And of course, one of the major reasons of selling Miles Bridges is we've got a 2-game week coming up. In 4 weeks, there's a 2-game week. That might be your fantasy finals. It might be your first week of playoffs. It might be your second week of playoffs. He was rolling. LaMelo might return. You should be looking to move off of Miles Bridges. Jalen Green, 26th, 137th since then. I don't even think he's a must-roster 12-team league player. He has fallen off considerably. The big Ragu, Dante DiVincenzo, 42nd. He had a hamstring injury in the middle there. He's down to 62nd. Part of the sell on him was waiting for other guys to return. We did get a little bit of an update on Anunoby today, suggesting that maybe he's not back immediately, but we still don't really know on Randall, and there's still a lot of up in the air about the Knicks, but that was a little bit of value there. DeMar DeRozan was 17th. He's 59th since then, big W. And then Cam Thomas, 30th, 116th since then. Much like Jordan Clarkson, Thomas is all over the shop. It's very easy to look at him as a guy that you can always take advantage of, and now he is hurt as well. Hurt his ankle yesterday. They've got a 5-game week coming up next week, so we'll see whether he's even able to play for that. And it's also, when you're trying to make big determinations of 5-game playoff weeks and months in advance, so much stuff can happen. You might have said, well, I'm in a deep league, I'm going to take Royce O'Neal. I'm going to go make sure I'm going to hold Cam Thomas for that 5-game week for the 3 months where he was outside the top 200. Yes, then he improved and was really good, but he might not even play. That's why a lot of the time I don't make, unless it's a 2-game week where I want to try and avoid my first 2 or 3 round picks in a draft, I do that. But otherwise, I'm not making huge determinations on things that will change pretty significantly as we move forward. So, that's the recap. Not bad. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes you need the opportunity to get something off your chest. I did it at the start of this show. I'm frustrated that the audio part of this show is not getting out where it needs to get. And that can be really annoying because it's something that I love to do and it's something you guys like to listen to. And it's frustrating that it's out of my control. But I need to let that out to someone who is unbiased in my life. Well, that's something that therapy can be used for. You might have something that's small or something big in your life that you need to get off your chest. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than, hey, did your podcast get published? Or did your sports team make an incredibly bad hire, giving out what was the largest coaching contract to a guy who clearly doesn't care? That might be something you want to vent about as well. But it's important to get all those things off your chest every once in a while. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba to get 10% off your first month. That is betterhelp.com, HELP, betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. Today's episode is also brought to you by Stitch Fix. You get an instant confidence boost. You dress good, you look good, you look in the mirror and you go, look at this big fella. He looks absolutely ravishing. And that is what a good outfit and good clothes can do for you. And you can easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps you find new on-trend favorites that will work for you. You give them your size, your style preferences, your budget preferences. You order a box of clothes whenever you want. If you don't want it, you don't order it. You don't worry about subscriptions that it comes all the time. You get 5 items in there. You look at them. They should fit perfectly. They give you outfit recommendations and styling tips to go with that as well. Stitch Fix makes it all so easy. You don't have to worry about going to the shops. You don't have to worry about that time and effort. You just get those guys, the stylists, to do it all for you. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/lockedon. That is stitchfix.com/lockedon. Guess what? It is stitchfix.com/lockedon. All right, so let's go on to the actual buy lows and sell highs. I'll be honest with you, it's a little bit harder to get. There's not so many that look completely awesome at the moment. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but they're just, I don't know, it wasn't quite as, sometimes we get the ones that are super obvious, right? And you hope you get a little bit, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, you hope to get a little bit of extra pump out of them and go, this is so obvious. And there weren't, on the sell highs, there were a few. On the buy lows, not quite as many. Regrettably, for some reason, I didn't include Tyrese Halliburton in this list. He's absolutely a buy low, so let's just get that out of the way. But I'm going to go to New York, and I'm going to talk about the big fella, Isaiah Hartenstein, the stubby, because Hartenstein obviously had the Achilles issues. There were people that wanted to drop him. There are people that are panicking about the minutes restriction and re-injury, and I do get all of that. Does he sit back-to-backs? Like, he might sit there back-to-back today. That is totally possible as well. So that just means there's big opportunities. 131st over the time frame we're using. Now, Yahoo doesn't give me the exact same time frame. You can only do 7 days, 14 days, or 30 days. And I'm looking at the last 21 days, really. So I use 30 days as a Yahoo placeholder metric there. So he's 110th over that time. He's averaging just 18 fantasy points, 5.5 real points, 5.3 rebounds, 2.5 assists on 0.5 blocks. Hasn't hit a 3. He's got 0.8 steals. He's shooting 64 from the field. He's 100 from the line. That's all normal. But he's averaging 19 minutes. He's at 29 minutes over the last 30 games that he's played. And I think he can go higher. He was already back to 26 last game. And it's also not just about minutes. That's a part of it. But he was also not blocking any shots. He's at 1.1 blocks for the season in 26 minutes. He's at half a block a game in 19 minutes. He was running where he was getting 2 blocks a game for a big stretch of time. So there is a risk with all of this stuff with Hartenstein. Again, your trade deadline might be done, so you might not be making any deals. I'm more out here to tell you that I'm very comfortable holding Hartenstein and very comfortable that he's going to step up pretty significantly. And I'm not that worried about Mitchell Robinson coming back anytime soon. So I think Hartenstein is going to jump up pretty considerably and take some pretty decent steps forward. If you are able to trade, I'd be happy to giving up a top 100 player to get Isaiah Hartenstein back onto my team. We're going to stay in the New York area. We're going to move to a different borough. It's a borough, isn't it? Yeah. We're going to go to Brooklyn. We're going to talk about Mikal Bridges, who, honestly, has been bad. He has been one of the biggest busts of the fantasy season. Not as big as me picking Jordan Poole to be a good player, but up there. But I didn't pick Mikal Bridges to be that good, so I'm okay with that one. He is just not good at the moment at all. And yeah, he continues to play every game. Okay, that's not really doing much, is it? He's 125th over over our time frame, 70th on Yahoo, 30th in fantasy points with 90th in fantasy points with 30 fantasy points a game, averaging 17.7 points, 4 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 2.7 triples, 0.9 steals, 0.1 blocks. He just can't shoot anymore. 41 from the field, 31 from 3, 77 from the line. He's at 36% this season from 3. He's at 31 over this time period. So that is going to improve. He's at 77 from the line for absolutely no reason. He's at 82 for the season. He's been 86 in the past. One of the big calling cards of Bridges in the past when he was this permanent guy in Phoenix was he would shoot like 63% from 2, 40% from 3, 88% or 87% from the line and have these insane efficiency numbers with big steals. And then we saw some ramp up last season, and I obviously red flagged a lot of this stuff saying, yeah, look, but he's hitting 55% of his mid-ranges. He doesn't get to the rim anymore, and this level is not going to hold. And he can't do this. And this team is insane if they are building around this guy. As much as we love Mikal Bridges, it makes me feel like I hate him. I love him. He is not this guy. But he is better than this. And 5 games next week. And if we're confident of anyone playing 5 games, it's him. The problem I'm going to have here is, do they pull a 12-minute shifty on us? Where he plays to keep the fake games played streak going and limits. But with 5 games on, that's actually okay. It's not just about that 5-game week, though. It's about, I don't think he's going to stay as a 41 and 31 field goal / 3-point shooter. I don't think he's going to remain under 77% free throw guy. He's better than that. Very easy to jump all of those percentages up, which of course jumps your 3-pointers made up, but also jumps your scoring up. And if Cam Thomas is out, does he go back to 24 points a game over this period? That's distinctly possible as well. This is the time to get in on this if you can. But if you've got Bridges, it's been bad. It's been bad for 6 weeks. It's been bad all season. You burnt a pick on it, obviously. But I think it's going to turn around, at least in this short term, and it's going to improve from where it's been. I'd send a top 85 back. I'd probably send a top 75 guy back, honestly, in a trade to get that extra boost. We go to his teammate now, Big Nick Claxton, who has been pretty solid all season. There's been some minutes issues at times. But at the moment, there's just something a little bit off with Claxo. 117th in -1 rankings. He's 40th on Yahoo. But he's 27 fantasy points, which is 109th. He's averaging 10 and 8 with 2 assists, 0.6 steals and 1.4 blocks, shooting 58.6% from the field. And there are a couple of things there. 58.6 is incredibly low for him. He is at 64 for the year. Last season, he was at 71. The year before, 67. Big dips. Also worth remembering, we talk about this a lot in the offseason. The guys who are the outlier stat people, the top 2 or 3 contributors in a category, often can suffer pretty significant declines. I think Claxton and Walker Kessler were 2 of the biggest field goal percentage guys last season, and they're not this season. I think one of the exceptions to that is going to be, hey, do I think Victor Wembanyama is going to move away from being a top 5 blocks guy? Like, no chance. That one's not, I'm not really worried about that one, but a lot of these other ones, you always have that concern. But he's also just not blocking shots. 1.4 blocks over the last 21 days. He's at 2.2 for the season. That's a big drop. That's almost, what's the number? Almost 50%? Not quite. It's a big drop. Anyway, and his rebounds are down from 10 to 7.9. It's not that his minutes have changed that much. He's still playing like 29 a night. His rebound rate's just well down. His block rate is well down. And the rebounds, you can say, well, Simmons is there now, and that's impacting that. And I do get that. But Simmons isn't always going to be there. We know this. He's going to sit out games. And Claxton could just be better than this. But the blocks, the field goal percentage, bro's sitting 12 percentage points lower than he was last season from field goals. All of that jumps up. That means his scoring jumps up. His rebounds jump up. His blocks jump up. He easily goes back to a top 60 player. 5 games next week. Offer a top 80 guy. Offer a top 70 guy. And get that nice little bump coming up. There are some people who think that they'll just shut him down. I'm not one of them. It is possible, but it's also not happening in the next week. Let's go to New Orleans. Let's go to Brandon Ingram, who is 84th over the last 2 weeks, 81st on Yahoo, 38 fantasy points, which is 37th, averaging 18, 4.5, and 7. 1.3, 1.3 steals, 1.2 blocks. And this is a tough one to look at because I look at this and go, 1.3 steals and 1.2 blocks for Ingram is not a situation where I go, I feel confident in that sticking. Don't feel confident in that at all. But he's averaging 18 points a game. All right. He's hitting 44 from the field, 26 from 3, and 69 from the line. And there is your thing. 26 from 3. This guy is at 36% for the season. It's just a big, big shooting slump. The 69% as well. This guy turned himself into an 84% free throw shooter for multiple years. He's only at like 78. I think it's 78 this season. Let me quickly double check that. 79 this season he's only at. So he has dipped there for sure. He was at 88 last season. That is a gigantic drop. But 69 is even, like, it's way lower. There's 12 percentage point increase minimum that can happen from that. And same with his threes. He was a 39% three-point shooter last season. He's 36 this season. He's 26 the last 21 days. So it means he's averaging only 18 points a game. I've got those numbers mixed up. Sorry, it should be 18.3 points the last 2 weeks, and he's at 21 for the season. So it's 3 points per game difference. He's 84th. I would be okay giving up a top 60 player, top 65 player to get Ingram. We know he has issues at times with the lack of defensive stats, but the assists are flying. It's just that there's some weird shooting numbers. So I feel okay about getting him at a lower price. Again, if you can't trade, just have him and go, oh yeah, there's a lot of improvement coming here. Feel really confident about that level of improvement. And the next, we go to the thick hogsman, Tobias Harris in Philadelphia, who... There's some stuff to talk about here that's interesting, I think. He's 95th over the last 21 days, 66th on Yahoo, 79th in points, averaging 32, with 12.5 real points, disgusting, 6.8 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 0.7 dribbles, 1.5 steals, and 0.8 blocks. So I can easily look at that and go, well, 1.5 steals, like this is not what the thick hogsman does. This is a man that's been allergic to steals for many, many years. He's at 1 steal only this season, 0.9 last year, 0.6 and 0.9 the 2 years before that. So that is above and beyond, absolutely. The 0.8 blocks is ahead of the 0.6 he's had this season. They are a little bit higher. But all that should be offset because at the moment, the man can't shoot. 37 from the field, 27 from 3. He's at 87 from the line. That's good. He's only at 34% from 3 this season. But he's at 27 the last 21 days. Last season, 37. The year before, 39. it is not outrageous to suggest that Tobias Harris will have a 2 to 3 week run of being a 40% three-point shooter at some point in your fantasy playoffs, or at least 35 or 36%. It's not outrageous to suggest that his two-point shooting, which is putrid at the moment, jumps back up to 55, 56%, which is where it's been most of the season. And I highlight this number and you'll go, well, Josh, this doesn't make sense. His usage is 20% over the last 21 days, and it's 20% for the season. So, okay, so he's bang on. Yeah, he is bang on. But this should be higher. Joel Embiid is not there. Why has Harris's usage not changed at all? Is it because he's bad? That's possible. But I also think we can at least look at, he has a run where he has a 23 usage run or a 22 usage run. With no Embiid there for his usage not to change at all is pretty ridiculous. So I just think he's going to get a period here where he had some more shots. And often when players are out of confidence with their shooting, like he is at the moment, they just don't take as many shots. When they start going in, he'll take more. And if he has a run where he's hitting 45% from three, that usage probably goes to 27. He probably averages 23 a game for a period of time. And at the moment, he's doing nothing. Like, I'd be okay giving up a top 70 guy. He could very easily have a top 40 run from here on out. He could not also because he's Tobias Harris. But he is really struggling. And there are just a few very key indicators. 3-point percentage, obviously one of them. 12 points a game, the other one of them, that can very, very easily jump up without too much of a change, I don't think. Today's episode is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts that you need at the prices you want, it is easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to US customers. So now let's move on to the sell high list. We're going to go to New York. Not for the first time today. We're going to talk about the burner, Jalen Brunson. Shout out to the Knicks, by the way, who are using my nickname for Jalen Brunson in their social media posts. I am not going to be arrogant and suggest that I'm the only person who came up with that nickname. It's not that hard to come up with it. I'm pretty sure I'm the first one to put it out loud about 5 years ago when he was drafted. But I'm not the only one. It's not that hard to come up with. And they're also using the Big Ragu. Now, I did not invent the nickname the Big Ragu for Dante DiVincenzo. That's a nickname that he had coming out of college. It was that and Delaware Jordan were his two nicknames, which are undoubtedly hilarious. I did not come up with the Big Ragu. But the Knicks are posting stuff about Brunson, calling him the burner, about the Big Ragu. Hartenstein's wearing a jumper the other day, or a sweater, sorry, as you call it, with the Big Ragu on it. I believe they said something about the Big Sneeze the other day as well, which is one of mine too. So I'm loving it. So whoever the Knicks social guy is, I don't know if you listen to this show, shout out to you, appreciate it. Maybe we'll find some other funny ones to drop in there. But anyway, the burner, Jalen Brunson, he's 12th over the last 21 days, 25th on Yahoo, 15th in fantasy points, averaging 47, 31.5, 2.3 rebounds, 8.3 rebounds. I already can hear the haters. I can hear you. Josh, you're just saying this because you hate Jalen Brunson. You didn't even have him in your All-Star team. Yeah, when I did it on like January the 1st, he wasn't in there because he was going through a slump, and that was a mistake from me. And then when I re-looked at my teams 3 weeks later, he was in very clearly. I still don't think that he's necessarily was a starter. I would have had Donovan Mitchell there, but whatever. He's been awesome. But this is about a couple of things. He's averaging 31.5 points a game. Unbelievable. 8.3 assists. Ridiculous. 2.5 triples. 1.3 steals. He's actually shooting poorly from his standards. 34.9 from three. This is a guy that's been running at 40%. He was at 41 last season. He's at 40 this year. Now, he was at 40 this year because he started off the season at 46, and that has fallen down, and he's in that mid-30s zone, and I think that's probably fine for him. He's also hitting 91% from the line. But here's the thing. With Randall out, not so much Anunoby, but with Randall out, he's doing everything. 36 usage. For the season, it's high at 30. Last season, Brunson's usage, 27.6. So he has stepped up. He has gotten larger usage this season. But this is a ridiculously high level. It is not inconceivable that 35.6 usage, when Randall comes back, turns into 28.5. That is possible. He's also, and again, this doesn't seem like much, he's at 91 from the line. For the season, he's at 84.5. Last season, he was at 83. Over the last 4 games, he's hitting 94% on 8.8 attempts. That is, I believe, his number one fantasy category. It is, over that time frame. His number one fantasy category. And you say like 85, he's still a really good free throw shooter. He is. It's a big difference though. Going from 91 on 9 attempts to 85 on 7 attempts because of usage drop, probably drops you 10 spots right there. And then you turn in that other usage and 2-point attempts and the scoring from 31 a game. He's averaging 27.7 for the season. Not ridiculous to suggest he's a 28, 29-point guy, 27-point guy rest of season. The assists are also well up. He's at 6.7 assists this season. He's at 8.3. Over the last 4 games, he's at 9.8 assists. He's doing everything. You worry about burnout. Maybe Randall, and there is a risk in this with Brunson, because if Randall does not come back and he has to opt for surgery, then Brunson will run at this very high usage level. But I also throw this in there, but that doesn't mean that he stays 91% shooting. It doesn't mean that he holds 45% from the field. He might have a 41 run because that level of usage can really wear on people. Or when you're playing 40 minutes a night and you're initiating every single possession, you can get hurt. That's another possibility. If I can trade him, I would only trade for top 15. But Randall returning will definitely impact him. But Randall may not return. But I just wanted to highlight there are so many crazy outlier things happening for a very specific reason that if that reason does change, and I think it will, that in the middle of your playoffs, Brunson goes back to being the 35th best player. Like, he's only the 30th ranked player this season. And that's because the last month or so, he's been able to run as a top 15 guy. And that bumps him way up. No hate at all, Jalen. Let's go to Washington, Tyus Jones. Pretty big risk of shutdown with this guy at some point. That's going to depend on when your season goes to. Again, I don't believe that there'll be any sort of significant shutdown stuff happening before we really hit April, especially with some of the new rules in. I don't think we're going to have much happen there. So that's going to be okay for most of you. But that's not all that this is about. He's 40th over the last 21 days, -1 rankings. He's 68th in fantasy points, averaging 33 points a game. He's at 13.3 real points, 2.1 rebounds, and 10.9 assists, hitting 2.6 dribbles. He's not doing it on big defensive numbers, 0.8 steals. But he's hitting 53 from the field and a crazy 66% from 3. So there you go. That's obvious, right? He's at 100% from the line, but that's fine. He's taken 3 free throws in 8 games. Whatever, right? That's not actually, even if he say he went 2 of 3 and he'd shoot 67%, that's obviously down. It doesn't impact your team at all because he doesn't get to the line. It's this shooting. He's at 65.6% from 3. For the season, he's been awesome. 43% shooter. But last season, 37. Do I buy that he is a 43% shooter? Like, he might be. The reason I put that 37% mark in from last season is to say that even if he falls from 65.6%, that doesn't mean he just goes back to season average. There could be a run, and obviously when you have hot streaks like this, it drags your overall season number up, which is what's happened here. So don't be surprised if he has like a 30, 28, 25 percentage point drop in 3-point shooting, which of course drops those field goals from 53 down to 47, 44, whatever it is. To be fair to him, he also can't hit a single 2 at the moment. I think he's at 40% from 2, so that'll probably push back up. The assists are also absolutely through the roof. 10.9 over the last 21 days. And you'll also say, well, Josh, he's just a really good assist guy. Yeah, sure. But he's at 7 for the season. And it has continued to ramp up, and I think he can hold at 8, 8.5, 9 maybe. But 11's a big difference. And the reason it's come like that is he's had, in the last 5 games, 16, 15, 14, and then 6 and 10 in the last 2. He's also had only 8 points combined in those last 2 games. Combine that with injury risk, his 3-point shooting drop, assist level drop, free throw drop, and volume doesn't really matter. There's going to be a fall off here. If I could get a top 60 guy back, a top 70 guy back, I'd be pretty okay with doing that. But otherwise, if I've got him, just understand that there is going to be regression. Let's go to Utah. Let's go to talk about the Baptist, Johnny Collins, who the start this season was quite poor, and I thought he was a droppable player. I dropped him myself in a league. But now, once they made that flick and changed the starting lineup back, he maintained a pretty strong role. Like Tyus Jones, I really worry about what happens to John Collins the rest of the season. Again, I think this probably happens March 30th, around that sort of an area, where maybe they say, let's just see whether Hendricks and Kessler can work together. Kessler's a whole nother story. But also, Collins is doing some things at the moment which just aren't realistic to hold on to. He's 43rd in -1 rankings. He's 48th in fantasy points, averaging 36th, averaging 15, 11.7 rebounds with 2.2 assists. He's at 1 block, 1 3, shooting 53, 36, and 88 from the line. That says 1.7 rebounds. I should say 11.7 rebounds. And while that's obviously a really good number, that's nowhere near where he's been. The minutes are the same. He's just pulling in way more rebounds. He's at 8.4 for the season. That's a big difference. And it's not that now Kessler's coming off the bench, because Kessler's been coming off the bench for months. This is just a big spike from John Collins. Really big step up in terms of the rebound rate. And the other risk there, as I said, is the minutes. He's at 29 minutes. That's what he's been at all season. But there is going to be a time, I'm guessing, that he gets a finger problem or a knee problem or an ankle problem or a back problem. And the minutes drop and we see Kessler and Hendricks together and we see what they can do. And then he would become a droppable player. At this point, if I could get a top 90 guy back, I would. He's running at top 50. Maybe top 90 is a bit low. Maybe let's say top 75 because of the way he's playing. But the rebounds, I don't really buy it. The field goal percentage, maybe. It's not egregiously high. Maybe that can hold. It's more about, does that rebound rate hold, and how confident am I in him being available in 3 weeks, 4 weeks' time? And the answer is not very confident. We're going to go to New Orleans. This one is, I think, relatively obvious. It makes it hard to pull off Giggity, but it is also worth mentioning just so you know how to plan your team around, because Herb Jones is going crazy at the moment. Jonesy is 45th in -1 ranks over the last 21 days. If you narrow it down to like the last week or so, he's a top 30 player. He's 50th on Yahoo. He's averaging 30 fantasy points, averaging 14.3 real points, 5 rebounds, 2.9 assists, 2.3 triples, and 2.3 steals. So there you go. There's your automatic red flags. You say, well, Josh, Herb Jones is a good steals guy. True. This is true. But he's averaging 1.3 for the season. And maintaining 2.3 is basically impossible. He's at 1.6 last season, 1.7 the year before that. He's running at like insane minutes. That is largely because Dyson Daniels is out. I think he might actually hold it 35 minutes a night for a long period of time. It is very hard to hold at 2.3 steals. 1.9 maybe. But that is a big difference. 1.9 to 2.3 is a big difference. The other thing is he's hitting 59% from the field and 58% from 3, including 82% from the line. 58% from 3. This man shot 33.5 last season, 33.7 the season before, and I will grant you he is a significantly improved shooter. He's at 42% from 3 this season. Big step up. Big step up. Over his last 24 games, he's hitting 54% from 3 on 4 attempts a game. That's not insignificant. I look at what the actual totals are there. Over the last 24 games, he is at 51 out of 95. That's insane. It also makes me worried there's going to be a stretch where he goes 15 of 45, 15 of 50 to round out the season and drop him back to being a normal three-point shooter, which of course impacts your three-pointers made, of course impacts your scoring, of course impacts your field goal percentage. If I could get a top 60 guy back for Herb, I would absolutely do it, but I also understand that might be difficult. He is rolling, and he could also improve because those blocks are sitting at 0.3 a game. He can be better than that. And Daniels isn't coming back for a few more weeks. Alvarado moving back into the mix might impact him, but it's just also the variance of shooting is just unlikely to hold for this. It's been great. I just don't want to put my money on a guy maintaining 54% shooting from 3, especially a guy known as a non-shooter, even though he has improved. He has not become the literal greatest shooter of all time, because if he maintains 55% from 3, that is what he is. And if I'm going to say one thing about Herb Jones, it's not that he is the greatest shooter of all time. 2.3 steals is also a really hard number to continue, and those things dropping plummets you down the rankings to like 90th, 100th. And we've seen this man have insane cold streaks where he does nothing. Like he just is absent. And that's where you run into those problems. The last guy we look at, we go back to the Knicks and we talk about Precious Atua, the big sneeze. 52nd over the last 21 days, 39th on Yahoo. He's averaging 35 fantasy points, that's 60th. 12.7 points, 12 rebounds, and 1.7 assists with 0.6 threes, 0.9 steals, and 1.6 blocks. And those numbers are all fine, but they're not, because it's taken him 39 minutes to get there. 12 points in 39 minutes is actually not good at all. He's hitting 59 from the field, 36 from 3, 65 from the free throw line. He's a guy that is being forced into large minutes because Julius Randle and OG Anunoby are out, and they may not come back. The exact same as Brunson, I don't know. But we've also started to see Tom Thibodeau drop Precious Achua's minutes down because A, he's not good enough to maintain 40 a night. So we're seeing he was going at he went this crazy stretch, 40, 43, 43, 40, 41, 43, 39, 43, 38, and then 34, 34. And he hasn't scored well in those games. He has efficiency issues. I just still don't think he's a very good player. He's made improvements, but this is it's a boost of opportunity. 39 minutes. He's at 22 minutes for the season. When Randall and Anunoby come back, he is not getting 30 minutes. He will get, let's say Robinson's back as well. Does he get any minutes at center? Probably not. Does he get minutes over Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, or Julius Randle playing the 4? Probably not. Is he in the rotation more than 12 minutes a night? Hard to say. When he came to the Knicks, when they were healthy, 8 minutes, 11 minutes, 12 minutes, 8 minutes, 20 minutes, 16 minutes, 6 minutes, 19 minutes, 6 minutes, 9 minutes. 25, 21, that's when the Anunoby injury happened. 25, 21, 22, and then Randall got hurt, and then it was a full steam ahead. 20 minutes of Atua, you don't care about that. That's not relevant to anybody. He's also, in this period, going at 64% from 2, when for the year he's at 55.9, and part of the issue with Atua over his entire career has been insane inefficiency. 56 from 2 last season, 47 the year before that, 55 as a rookie. He's been the big man that you watch and go, bro, what are you doing? You are a center. Can you stop with these shots? And that has improved over this short period of time. But 12 points in 39 minutes is not something where I go, well, yeah, that can hold. Value can hold. If I could get a top 100 guy back, I would do it. Understanding, though, there is a risk that those guys don't return. These are some risky plays. And it might not pan out. Just be aware of that. But Precious is, again, also doing some things like the shooting numbers. Even the block numbers are pretty high at the moment, which have not really been something that he's been able to do. And the minutes have started a downward trend. So even if those guys don't come back anytime soon, I expect some of this production to fall away a little bit from the big sneeze himself. So we actually mentioned all the Knicks nickname guys in this. We had DiVincenzo, the Big Ragu, in the recap. We had the burner, Jalen Brunson, then we had the big sneeze. I just need the Knicks guys now to start referencing the double Royal Julius Randle. I'm sure they won't because it's sort of offensive to him in his game. But maybe they do. Maybe he just takes on the royalty moniker. Anyway, guys, don't forget to follow this podcast whenever it appears again. I didn't even realize on Spotify there was a rating system. So thanks to everyone who's given this show 5 stars. I appreciate that. I think we're sitting at like 1.5 thousand people giving a 5 star. I want to hit that number up. If you can do that when it arrives, finally do it. If you're on YouTube, you know what to do. You thumb it up, you leave your comments, all that stuff down below. And guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. See ya.